just a vibe. Hello, I'm Tiffany Linnell.
I'm Alex Haynes.
Greetings. It's been a second, but rest will get you ready for something like, a 41 count indictment. I mean, yeah.
You said rest would get you ready for that? Because I don't feel rested. But when it comes to this, I'm probably beyond exhausted. But
Now,
here we are.
but here we are. Now, I will say I am beyond exhausted about so many things in so many ways. But I don't know. I read last week that it was going to be multiple indictments considered or requested. I had no idea that we would be hit with the storm that we were hit with last night. But we are here to discuss not just the indictment that was handed down last night. We are here to discuss all of the indictments. But how many presidents can we say that about? Aren't we just so fortunate and blessed?
Honestly, what do you mean? When you think president, you don't think indictment. At least when you at one point when you thought president, you didn't think indictment. If you thought like maybe prime minister, king, sure, but president, not really. But that's also, I feel like you don't think that until you've had some exposure. And I'm not ignorant enough to believe that there weren't people that came before me that probably saw this coming.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. But we have quite a bit to cover this evening because there's quite a bit of indictments to cover. So for those of you who have been trying to keep up, but you just can't quite keep up with all of the criminal charges that are being thrown at Donny, Trumpy, as I've been calling him in certain areas.
I mean, I do think indictment Donny is fitting. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I'm so exasperated by this, bored by it, kind of annoyed by it because I feel like, I'll tell you why I'm bored. For over 7 years, like 8 years now, this enabled mob of albino monkeys has been running rampant in this country, acting like petulant children without education and seemingly playing dumb, playing like everything is a war. We're like relitigating things that have been solved, problems that these aren't problems. Like these are like, so
you just said a lot in that sentence that I feel like we owe someone an apology for.
Maybe the albino monkeys, because they probably don't deserve to be paralleled to these
buffoons,
naked mole rats.
we just got started. We just got here. Welcome. For those of you who
I committed to not name calling, so I'm staying true to my commitment.
Are you?
I made a parallel.
That's not name calling?
Making a parallel. I don't really,
Okay. Let's go with it. Sure. So for anyone who is new here, welcome. We are going to talk about all of the indictments. There are 4 for now. But there are 4. The last one was just handed down last night. But the one that was handed down last night is one of the most significant that was handed down. And so if you are or have not been keeping track, you want to pay attention to this because we're going to walk through them. We're going to walk through a bit of information about each one of them. And you may get some laughs. You probably will. Clearly, you already are. So let's begin. 4 indictments. 1, we have the DC federal election case. 2, we have the Georgia election case. That's the one that came out last night. 3, we have the Florida documents case. And then 4, we have the New York hush money case. So the DC federal election case, that is one of the most important ones because it has conspiracy charges to defraud the United States and obstruct official proceeding. So what does this mean? January 6th was not just a regular day. January 6th was an insurrection. And so when you look at that's the whole
You say insurrection, and there are people that still even, they've seen
I
the
know.
footage. Maybe they haven't seen the footage. Like to some people, January 6th is still it's like a day that y'all made out of you made something big out of nothing.
I know. And I just don't understand how anyone could possibly call it anything but what it was at this point. I saw that another officer, I think he was in Chicago, was just arrested. And when they went to pick him up, his sister voluntarily said, "Are you arresting me too?" And they said, "No, we're just here to get him." But then they found text messages of them on his broken phone where they were planning to go in, and then they were in, and then they were texting friends while they were in, arrested, fired as well, and found guilty. He was just found guilty. So, like at this point, you kind of got to call if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck. I'm just saying.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think that we're at the place that there are people that still don't get what's either happening or that Donald Trump is who he is. Like, even if you were bamboozled by him at one point, most people that are sticking, and his base is dwindling, right? It is dwindling.
Right.
You'll never see it because I think there's probably some type of public agenda to always make sure that there is a healthy, quote unquote, battle between the two forces or parties, but it doesn't even make sense. If they haven't won a popular anything in like 20 years, and then
Right.
any elections at all in the last 8, clearly things aren't evil. I mean, equal, well, they may be evil, but things aren't equal, and we're just we're playing tit for tat over and over and over again. War, 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 war. Like I think there's a clear there's a delineation that is probably that exists in the nation. It's probably I have to believe that some professor somewhere has researched this, and it's not by chance that it's like, oh well, we can't. Our middle America is dying. Our rural cities are dying, but they're like overrun with like a certain group of people, whether it be generation or ideology, like a certain group of people is running these places. So it's kind of like, I don't think that people are as mystified as like we want. And I will, let me say this part. I'm saying I don't think people are as mystified. I do think people are uninformed. And I think, we do this because we want people to be informed. And at least, like, if you don't have all of the facts, at least be able to identify one. I think, and that is why, I'll beat a dead horse because the horse is dead and we still beating it. But here we are. This man has 91 indictments. And like I just know that as a grown ass black man,
91 counts
that has been in a.
I knew what you meant. 4 indictments. Total 91 problems within the 4 indictments.
Lots of problems.
A lot.
Lots of problems. And here we have like again, we can do this, and we probably will do this over and over. But it gets to the point where like people stop listening. I think people generally probably stopped listening to him 6 years ago. Like, oh, he won. Damn, that was an accident. Oh, damn, that was an accident.
I
mean, his base is dwindling, and so it just is.
He's still technically up in the polls, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
In Republican polls, not general polls. In Republican polls, and he will be that. And they're self-destruct. Like, let's
so the next one is the Georgia election case. Now that's a big one. That's the one that just came out. So I'm going to skip that one for now. We'll come back to it. The next is the Florida documents case that is for mishandling classified info. In case you have forgotten, that is all of the, boxes in the bathrooms and on the golf course and all of the other places that the boxes were that they should not have been. That's the Florida documents case. And then the New York hush money case, which is about improper business records for the hush payments. That's not as crucial, but still crucial, and still another indictment. So for the framing of this conversation, an indictment is not a guilty verdict. So let's just put that out there. An indictment is an accusation. It's still in the accusation stage. That means because all of these have felony charges, a grand jury was convened. And because that grand jury was convened, they got all of the evidence. They heard all of the witness testimony and everything that was presented to them. And then they handed down and they basically took a vote, for layman's terms, lack of a better way to say it, and decided to hand down an indictment. Once the indictment is handed down, then they still have to go to court and argue both sides, and that is trial by jury. That's the next step. So that is where we are with all four of these indictments. Now, the top one, the DC one, that is going to have 4 felony counts. It could impact the integrity of future U.S. elections. Trump faces up to 20 years in prison per count. So again, that's 4 counts, up to 20 years per count. Y'all can do the math. That's up to 80 years total. It has major implications for the elections. And we got to, candidates have to respect what's happening. He essentially tried to hold the presidency hostage. You can't do that.
Allegedly.
Excuse me. Thank you for the legal note. Allegedly. He allegedly tried to hold the presidency hostage. You cannot do that. Like, there's so many.
You can.
You shouldn't.
You can. You actually, and there it's so loose that it's always been a good faith handover.
Yes.
So
for all parties, for the president, for the president's team, there's like a full transition team. The woman who was supposed to help transition it, she didn't hand over what she was supposed to hand over. Like, it was a mess. So yes, you should not hold the presidency hostage. And there are certain... Because why would you? That is not democracy. That's not how this country... Now, I will say, there are a lot of things that happen that should not happen in this democracy, but it's on us to change the policies and the laws in this nation. And many of them have just not changed or kept up with the times. Now, I'm not saying... could have predicted.
While that is a fair argument, I adamantly and vehemently disagree. Like, it should be on us.
Okay.
But if we think about what's actually on us and within the actual, like, before it's actually on us, there's way too many things that we have to also put on us or either take back. Like, there's no way that we're able to effectively and adequately control that with the gerrymandering that happens in districts across the country, with the inconsistencies in equality, with full state legislatures attempting to pass laws and raise bars. So none of this is democracy.
Well,
so I think it's really...
There are a lot of things within this democracy that should be happening that are not. It is, and I used to say it's broken. No, it's working as designed. Now, is the system itself, is it broken in its design? Absolutely. Well,
where I was going with my disagreement was mostly, yes, like, it's broken. But when you say the we, I want to know, is this like the American we? Because I think that we as Black people have put way too much on our shoulders to pick this one up and once again take one for the team when we will be left for not.
I say the collective we, which I say includes Black and brown, because nothing in this country can get done without us. Literally nothing.
So
Now,
maybe we should change that. I mean, we should
I
lean into that.
I agree.
So that means back to this.
Yep. Wholeheartedly agree. Okay, the next one is the Georgia indictment that was handed down yesterday. Now, this is a big one. It is 97 pages and it is very detailed. I highly encourage everyone to read it. There are 13 felony counts. And let me back up because I said this earlier on my socials. And so I want to say it here. The difference between counts and charges is you can have multiple counts of the same charge. So in the Georgia indictment, if anyone has looked at it, you see that there are multiple counts, and then under each defendant, the counts are listed. So like under Trump, it has counts 1, 3, 5, 7, 15, 17, 19, all of the counts. And then next to it are what the counts are. And you see some of those counts are listed multiple times. That is because there are multiple counts of the same charge. So let me put that disclaimer out there. So Trump is facing 13 felony counts in Georgia. There are 41 counts in total in this indictment for 19 defendants or co-conspirators. That does not include the 30 unindicted co-conspirators and others that are unknown to us but are known to the grand jury. So there's Trump and 18 of his associates or co-conspirators charged for an alleged conspiracy in a RICO and racketeering case. What does that mean is a whole other conversation, but basically organized crime. They conspired to commit these crimes to commit fraud, essentially. So there are potential 20-year sentences. Each count carries a potential maximum sentence of up to 20 years in prison. That's each count, 41 counts. Again, not all of them are charged with all of the same counts. So let's be mindful of that. They were brought by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis under state law, which means he cannot escape this prosecution even if he becomes president again. He is also under indictment for violating Georgia's RICO Act and multiple counts of conspiracy, and it could impact, again, the integrity of future elections. Now, this is a really big one. Yeah, I'm anticipating this case. They have until, I believe, the 25th, noon on the 25th, to voluntarily surrender themselves to the court. So we'll see if that happens. Do you think all 19 are actually going to go through to trial? I don't think they will. I think some of them are going to cut some deals.
I honestly don't think that that the 19 will make it to trial. It's also, there's no way that her desired 6 months happens with 19 individuals, with 19 individual lawyers,
Right.
or more, plus different motions that they will make for different reasons. But also, I think that even if people make deals, the small people that got indicted, I don't really like, what do they have, unless they can offer something, like if they can offer the big ones on a platter, I don't really think they have much of a case.
Right.
The caveat here is they're playing with people that are dirty. So
yeah,
like Fani Willis has a history of prosecuting RICOs effectively. I was joking earlier this week, but it's not really a joke. When she prosecuted the Atlanta public schools cheating scandal, she put all of those people in jail, and they either died or went to jail. One of them died before she could go to jail, and you could call her the Donald Trump of that situation. I think she knew she was going to die, and so she was like, fine. But, nevertheless, that was kind of where she is. But the same way, like, they tried to use any and everything within their playbook or within their reach. Mark Meadows, who was also indicted with Donald Trump as a co-conspirator, has already filed to move his case to federal court, or move the case to federal court, citing that he was simply, everything he was charged with was just a duty that he had as chief of staff. He was just, and he's protected under, there's a clause, there's a specific clause. I'll come with it, but basically he's already filed, Trump's planning to file that same motion. And obviously the joy of Trump getting this case moved to federal court, that would leave him with one that's in a different state jurisdiction, the New York case. And we haven't got there yet. But if he moves it to federal court and then becomes president, he can either pardon himself or just toss the case. And that's really his tactic. That's his motive. That's the way that I think he's going to fight. I do think he'll turn himself in. And I think he'll turn himself in on time, because he has for every other case.
Right.
Those moments are money-making moments for him.
Absolutely. It's a show. It's all about the show. And he can bring the cameras. He can have the press there. He can do things like stop at the Waffle House and buy everybody a waffle. And I didn't make that up. He really did that in Georgia for those who missed it. And so I think it's all going to be a show for him. I absolutely think he's going to turn himself in on time.
Now, did he actually pay for the waffles? Because when he stopped at the spot in California, he ordered drinks for everyone and then left.
Now, I don't know if he actually paid. This was in Columbus, Georgia. He stopped in a Waffle House in Columbus, Georgia, and said waffles on him. And then he left. So I don't know if he actually stopped to pay for it. That's a good question. But just so we're clear, also, this Georgia case is very complicated but simple all at the same time. And for those who missed this note, it includes some of those co-conspirators are public officials or folks who are working in the elections office in Coffee County, Georgia. So basically, they try to commit fraudulent acts in a rural county in Georgia in an effort to find the votes that he was trying to get Kemp and our Secretary of State to find him. And that's on the phone call that's recorded. So there are phone call details and records and everything in that indictment that are listed out. Like I said, it's very detailed. They took their time. It spans 2 years. That timeline is in the indictment. So we'll see what happens there. So the next one is Florida. This one is 40 felony counts for mishandling classified documents and obstructing the FBI investigation. This is the one, again, where all of the boxes and boxes and boxes upon boxes of classified documents were found in bathrooms, next to toilets and showers, and in what looked like an auditorium or something like that. All of the places where they were not supposed to be, after the FBI constantly, continuously asked him to hand over the documents. Workers at Mar-a-Lago told them that they were told to move and shuffle around the boxes and the paperwork and everything in an effort to conceal everything. So this risks significant jail time if convicted, up to 10 to 20 years per count. Again, that's 40 felony counts, up to 10 to 20 years per felony per one of those counts. And it's sensitive intelligence material, from nuclear programs to defense capabilities, which is a huge no-no, as you would imagine. And this is after he left office. So he's accused of obstruction of justice, mishandling documents, including sensitive intelligence material. This one is one to watch for as well, happening in Florida. I'm still very curious how the judge is going to govern herself in this case. I know all eyes are on her since she, I won't say fumbled it the last time she had anything to do with Trump, but it sounds like they're watching her to make sure that she doesn't do anything that would be considered, I guess, bias or anything else. So,
well, she has already denied Special Counsel Jack Smith's request to keep the document sealed from the Trump camp. So basically, Trump's camp requested that he be able to view the documents, basically like he had them at Mar-a-Lago when he's on his plane and on his campaign stops. And they've requested that he only be able to view the documents in a skiff, just as he was only supposed to have and view them in the first place. But of course, he would ask for this privilege, asserting the privilege like it's something that he just can't do because he's a former king.
That's not how that works.
Which I hate that I'm going to say this just because we've had to explain a lot of things. And I find myself explaining things all the time. I'm bored with that too. But here's the thing. We don't have a king here, right? And I think like we start to feel like we have a king, or people, I don't know if people really think that, but if you attribute everything that's happening like to the president, it's not working. Like, we don't have a president that is controlling everything at every time. It just doesn't work like that. If anything, our president is being controlled. So I think that disconnect is there. There is really a lack of understanding of how our government works. I would say bring back civics, but I think we're beyond partisan. Like, we're not even teaching the same education like in the 50 states. So the country not only is it a mess. Like, the assumption is because like of the propaganda that we are the best, and then if we're a mess, everyone's like, the world is still there. There's education that's still happening in other places. Like, the three branches of government exist so that there could be a balance and separation of powers.
Supposed to be.
If you have a party that is actively trying to dismantle that active separation of powers, in fact, Trump's camp has already recommended the additional powers that they want to add to the executive branch. They've published it. It's out there. Probably good commute reading for you if you commute, or, you know, whatever, toilet reading. I don't know. It's something you should probably read and be aware of, because like, while you've got Florida that's out here like saying that slaves got benefits like in a 401k, you have Arizona over here basically saying you don't get credit for learning Black history. So I mean,
learning European history. And let's not forget Prager University. My God, today, if y'all haven't looked up Prager U yet, grab a drink, go Google it. That's Prager, in case you missed it. Because, wow. Have you seen those cartoons?
No, but I didn't know that was a real university. I thought that was just where Candace Owens, right? Like, Candace Owens spits her bullshit from there. So
yeah,
I don't even like. I've never clicked a Prager link because her face is usually associated with it. So I probably don't. Please don't send me those cartoons. I don't want to like. There's just certain things that I don't take myself, and I do ingest so I can understand what's going on over there. But like, the things that are created or said just to invoke response, I'm done with that, because we need to just be, if anything, being the ones that invoke new responses. Okay?
Right.
That's where I am. I'm not responding to DeSantis and his trolling, or Ramaswamy talking about.
Is that how you pronounce his last name?
I've decided to butcher it, since he's, you know, because actually he was at a Juneteenth rally in support of it until he realized that it could be a divisive issue, and then all of a sudden it doesn't matter. So the fact that like, you're not going to see me talking about Lalalu. It ain't up to me.
So the next indictment, because not Lalalu, Jesus on high, is the New York State case related.
He bills himself as further right than Trump.
He's a terrible person. So you get no arguments from me. Like, none. None.
The thing is, Trump isn't even right. Like, that is the thing about this. This is all of this. Like, all these cases, the ones especially that are being tried in places that are not favorable to him or that didn't vote, like the reason he wants it out of Fulton County is because it voted pretty much 100% against him. He wants the case thrown out of New York and tried upstate. He wants that's what he wants. He wants the case out of Miami, which even voted for him overwhelmingly, and in a place that's more favorable to him, with people that he doesn't even really like. But the crazy thing about that is he spent his whole life living in these same liberal areas that he doesn't want these people being his peers,
Right.
evaluating his behavior. But I think that, because I know we got to keep moving, but my last thought about this is a genuine one. I do believe that because he is running for office, he's not going to get, like, I think judges are either going to speed cases up, especially the federal judges. They're not going to play this back and forth with him.
Right.
Atlanta's going to be a unique case because you can have cameras in the courtroom. He would think that's to his benefit, but it's probably not, because once the people actually see, the problem is people are only seeing it through one lens. But he's like a defective Energizer bunny. He's going to beat that drum until he explodes. Okay. And unfortunately, there's nothing he can do about that. So when you petition a court for a change of venue because of some type of personal, like, the answer to that is going to be no. The system is designed to give the judges the full discretion. There's no pressure that comes from the media. It's not like that is a bullshit ass decision and the judge is like, no. And that's going to happen to him over and over and over again. No matter what he, like, they're going to, you call him what you want. Instead of accepting your emotions of delay, I'm just going to say no.
Period.
So
next motion. Or not.
I'm actually going to move this case up.
So thank you. Okay, so the last one is New York, the hush money. This is 34 felony counts relating to falsifying business records to conceal hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Basically, he tried to cover up the hush money. The potential sentence is up to 4 years per count, totaling 136 years if the maximum is imposed. This is not that it's a lightweight case, but it's definitely lighter than the other. So it doesn't necessarily have the same implications on election or national security. But still, those counts are, I mean, that's a lot of years. It's a lot.
Here's the thing.
A lot of years.
If he was wise, which he's not, and again, like I said, Energizer Bunny that's going to self-destruct. He would just plead himself out. A lot of these people would give you a deal just if you would just say, listen, I will go away.
Because
what
go away.
What this is going to unfortunately do, and this is why you got to know, because you could live in a place that this is affecting you and you don't even realize it.
Right.
This is going to inevitably, you have a party that is so butthurt and they keep losing. But instead of changing, like, to say, oh, we're not going to be bigots. It's okay. If all of your policies suck, and I'm not saying, like, people are, it's so personal now. You say your policies suck and it's like, you think I suck and my beliefs suck. I may think that.
Right.
I still think you're entitled to them. You're not entitled to force people into them in any way. I don't care if that's how you, if it's an ideology about education, the things that are going to help our society continue to be a progressive society and a society that is really, really making and affecting change, to literally create organizations like Moms for Liberty to simply obstruct that. Like, one at a time. It's just one at a time. We're going to say, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this. Well, our church teaches this, and our mosque teaches this, and our temple teaches this. And it's like, okay, here's the thing. Teach what you teach at home. Yeah, and that, I don't know when y'all stopped doing that. There was a time that you taught what you needed to teach at home, but there's a common place. There's a common place that we all come together. And so the voting, I mean, the crazy has been voted out over and over and over again.
Because it always shows itself. Always.
It's not popular.
No.
And it may feel popular. It might be popular where you live, but it's just not popular.
No.
It's not popular in the world. It's just not a popular thing. But you got to stay vocal. We all have to stay vocal.
Oh, yeah. But do you think that we are being vocal enough as a society, as communities, as a people, as an alleged democratic nation? Are we being vocal enough?
No.
I would agree.
I also would say that knowing that we can be is not, those are the messages that are being heard.
Right.
That's being stifled more than anything, because in the places that could affect change, you have people that want power.
Right.
Whether it's you raising it up in the organization so that you can, like, literally, I would argue that probably every Republican candidate running against Donald Trump, aside from Christie, is running a vanity project. None of them are speaking against a man that has 91 charges. You caught 91 charges. Like I said to you before this, I grew up in a community that was all about, very conservative community. That was like, these people are the same people. That's why I'm like, y'all are mighty quiet. But you're not. You're really loud and you're like, oops, because you keep voting against yourself. Now you're voting against your children, your family members, like all of it in the name of something that you've made up, something that you don't even feel attached to. But you feel better dividing people. You really should take some time to examine why you feel better about being divisive. Because you could literally take that conservative policy and keep it to your goddamn self.
Bloop. And we're the ones.
And to that point, I'm like, they could make the same argument. Well, you could take the same liberal. Like, no one's saying that you have to do anything that progressives are fighting for. They're not making you do anything.
Right.
That's never the argument.
But y'all are trying to indoctrinate people and minds. I mean, you're literally removing books and education out of schools, replacing it with videos that say slavery wasn't that bad and it's better than being killed, right? Or that, there's nothing to feel bad about from the past. Or I watched one of the videos today that said it wasn't a stolen land and that all of this is just misinformation. Like, you're literally redacting history, trying to change what really happened. And at some point, the loud and wrong have to be quiet. And by quiet, I mean shut up. Like, the loud and the wrong, at some point you got to move out of the way. At some point, the quiet and the right has got to become louder. We've got to become more vocal. We've got to just get in their faces. And not just the proverbial they, but I mean the faces of your representatives. If they're not doing what they need to do in your community, I've heard a plethora of people say that their city, their community, whatever, has looked the same time after time. Get them out of office. You run for office, or get somebody else you believe in to run for office and throw support behind them. If you cannot at least work with the one that's in there, even if you don't fully agree with someone else who's running against them, if you can work with them and build a relationship and talk to that person, that representative, that senator, that commissioner, that whatever, then work with them, get them in office, and get the person who's been in there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years out. Like, it's really time. I've been watching these videos, and I was talking to somebody the other day about the uprisings and the protests and everything else that's happening in different countries in Africa. And I saw one video that had three different countries, and one of them was playing colonialism. And it said, Africa is waking up to colonialism. And I just thought that was so powerful. And following the politics that are happening over there and how they are like, we will burn this down before we continue to allow you all to have your foot on our necks. At what point do we in this country, black, brown, white, poor, indifferent, all of us, at what point do we stand up and say enough is enough? You are banning books. You are taking women's rights. You are taking birth giving persons' rights. You are taking LGBTQ rights. You are trying to still not tax the rich, still cause a bigger gap between the lower income class and the high income class. You are still not providing health care. You are still not improving the maternal mortality rate in this country. You are still killing us. And by us, I mean the Black us. You are still killing us. And yet you want to continue to militarize the police and build $1 million, multi-million dollar jails and prisons and training centers. Stop Cop City. How about that? While you're trying to kill us, stop killing us. At what point do we as the people say enough is enough? At what point do we all stop being divisive in one form or fashion and say, you're poor, I'm not as poor, but we both need health care, and it's $500 or $600 a month to get basic health care in this state or in this country or in our community. Let's go sit at the governor's store until he decides to improve and fully expand Medicaid so that all of us can have it. Let's move some of this funding from our state so that we can have quality hospitals in all of our rural and urban communities instead of having 6 closed within a 10-year period. How about we stop fighting about churches? Now I'm talking to you. Let's stop fighting and talking about how many cuss words are in a rap song or whose pants are hanging down at their ankles. And let's talk about the fact that we are all living in food apartheid. Climate change is happening and it's hot as hell outside. Let's talk about how we move this country from being one of the worst in.
I'm actually kind of glad that you went there, even though I don't want to. I mean, it is like I said. The people that at the forefront that could affect the change are too concerned about their brand, what they built, their organization, be it a church, be it a nonprofit, like be it whatever
your organization.
They're so concerned about what it looks like, and it's for somebody that is, like I said, I grew up in a very conservative area, but also what you would call a conservative, like. If you're a church kid, it is what it is. My belief in the church institution, and just like a lot of nonprofits, it's like whatever it is, like I'm connected to something that I thought was interested in changing the world.
Yes.
Once I discovered that it wasn't, I'm out, because that's what I'm not in here to build your. Like us for no more. Like you said, right. There are people without, way too many communities without.
Way too many.
Too many food deserts. And these things are happening in our communities. Yeah. I am on record saying for years after years that you build these mega churches in these communities, suck them dry of money and resources, tithes and offerings, and then come ask them to vote. When their communities around your church still look like shit. Like, why? No. It's just not, like, I don't know. I know how we got here. I don't necessarily know, like, the path out. And I say that because talk is cheap.
Right.
We can have forum after forum. We have think piece after think piece. We have rant after rant and thread after thread. Video after video and viral sensation after viral sensation. And when it's all said and done, here Black people are picking up the pieces over and over and over again. And I'm at the point where I don't know that has served us. I don't know if it's serving us. I don't know if it has served us. I think it's important that we have conversations like this because you have to know what's going on around you. You have to know what's actually happening. Like, you have to know that you have stale cereal in your grocery store,
and you have
every time you go in there, and that's not normal.
That's not normal, and you don't have to just accept it. Yeah, that part. And I think what someone asked me the other day, I was talking to an incoming class, and someone asked me, what's it like to do policy and legislative advocacy? And I said, it is one of the most heart-wrenching, soul-filling, but crushing things that you could do. And they all just kind of looked at me, and I said, it is heart-wrenching. I said, it's filling because I enjoy going out into the community and building relationships and talking to people and providing new information or reminding them of information and all of that. I said, but it is heart-wrenching because I have heard so many people that have just given up, that have just said, this city has looked the same for the last 40 years, baby, and I'm done with that voting stuff. I'm not doing that because, so-and-so just isn't going to make any change. And me having to say, you be the change. Or there are 6 churches within a 5-mile radius. There are 3 nonprofit organizations within a 10-mile radius that are doing this and this and this. Why aren't y'all all working together? And by y'all, I mean the community members, the nonprofits, the churches, the denominations, the representatives, the commissioners, everybody. This is a collective problem. Like you said, if you go into your grocery store and your produce is always having mold on it, or it's lacking, or your cereal is stale, or the shelves are out of stock, or whatever, that can be changed. And it doesn't even have to be writing a letter or sitting in front of your representative's office. That's the other thing. Learn who does what. Because the more you learn who does what, the more targeted your focus can be. If it's your grocery store, contact the corporate office of that store and say, this store in our community sucks. Get some new management in there. Make sure that the produce is fresh. Here are the complaints. Send them pictures. It may not even be your representative, but figure out what the issues are in your community. Figure out who does those things or whose responsibility it is to take care of those things, and then go after them or go after their job.
Listen, I think that's a great way to attack it. I also think the polarization is something that is taught, right? It's something that's absorbed. Yeah. That we are in these organizations and you are a part of these bodies. I don't know, it could be your family.
Right.
And you see problem before you see human. And that is it's not just a political problem. It's not about the politics. You see a problem. You see something you don't like about that person, about that group, about what they're doing, how they're doing it. And because you see that problem, you have such a problem with that problem, you see no humanity.
Yeah.
And so until you see humanity and then you see that your issue is your neighbor's issue. It just really is.
Right.
Whether you are going through that struggle right now, or you have someone in your family, a child, a parent, whatever it is, whenever it is, you don't know everything. But I think all of this comes back together because it's like, because we are focused on the polarization and the problems that we have, and the problem that I have here and the problem that I have here, I'm so polarized, I can't get past that so that I can come together with others so that we can stand against things like having another leader of this country that's going to be charged. And these are, these people, these are the minimum. Like, this is the minimum. This man was already impeached twice. He's a twice impeached, one-term failed president. And that has now been indicted 4 times and is carrying 91 felony charges. And when you, my conservative brother and sister, reverend, teacher, priest, whatever, when you look at that application at your little small business or organization or church and say that, oh, you have a pending charge, you're not qualified, and turn around and qualify, vote for, and give your vote of the job to someone that has 91 pending, I think you need to do some self-examination.
Quickly. Like,
I think that needs to happen.
Stat. Because, and I know one question a lot of folks are asking is, well, surely if he gets convicted, he cannot, run this country. There are currently no laws preventing him from running to be or being president. Not one on the books.
You take me right back to polarization. Because of the problems that we haven't torn down the laws that prevent those same people that are citizens of this country that have served their time. We haven't given them their voting rights, but yet you can be charged, on your way to prison, run for president, become president, and be in jail as president. And that's not a law that we feel like we need to even address.
No, but if John is walking down the street and happens to have a blunt in his pocket in the wrong city at the wrong time, well, then John is going to jail. And John is now not going to be eligible for certain jobs, certain funding, certain students.
No, it's not. It won't. Just is not.
Just is not. Just like eligibility off the table. So if you...
But these policies came from the same place.
Correct.
It came from the same place. And again, we've done this show probably 30 times. Like we've talked about whether it's like it is what it is. Like marijuana became a Schedule I drug because of a scheme by the Republicans, Richard Nixon specifically. And that's, again, history. Those things that they want to ban books so that you don't know. When you hear about a banned book, you should go buy it.
Which Brooklyn Library is now available and open to everyone in every state. You can get a Brooklyn library card where they have all books available at all times. Fun fact. They just made that available.
That's pretty dope. I don't even have a Brooklyn library card, and I live in Brooklyn. What's crazy, I have a New York City library card, and Brooklyn is the only borough that's not connected to that system. Very weird, but I was just at the Brooklyn Library the other day. I didn't post my little videos, but Jay-Z exhibit, amazing.
I want to
amazing.
Okay, noted. All right, that is, I don't have anything else.
I don't. I think we said what we needed to say. Of course, this information is available in so many places. Specifically, you can read about these 91 charges, the four indictments, and what he's done, and what he's going to do. Our coverage, of course, at blackalerts.com. I hope you've been informed. I hope you got something. You got something that you weren't getting. So you connected a dot that you could not connect.
Right.
I hope you walk away with that.
Yeah, and I hope you do something with it and pass that along.
I would leave it at that.
Yeah, do something. Do something that you haven't done. Please, God, because we're literally dying. Literally in multiple ways. All right, that is going to do it for us. I am Tiffany Linnell. You can reach me on all of my socials at Tiff Linnell or on my website at that's not an at, but tiffanylinnell.com. Alex, I know you always say they can't get in touch with you, but
I do social sometime, but I'm not really the social person these days. But you can try. Alex Unmuted. Just type it in somewhere and see if I'm there. Good luck.
Lord have mercy. All right. Be safe, be blessed, and let God be God today and tonight and tomorrow and every day and all of that. Adios.
Not a benediction. Today is greater.
Now that's not a benediction.
It's not. Namaste.
I beg to differ. Namaste.